I thought I could start this off by showing you the services that I use on my day-to-day. Let me show you. So before we start, I wanted to say that I am slightly passionate about cars. I kind of grew up watching Top Gear, so that had a bit of an impact on me. I also kind of remember being about 12 years old and kind of excited about the next season of Top Gear. And then I saw the first generation CLS Mercedes. It might not be that relevant to this video, but I just remember seeing those pillarless doors and the overall shape of it, and I was like in awe over it. I was amazed by the way it looked. Fast forward a couple decades, and now I own my own CLS, and I don't drive it that often. So every time I drive it, it feels like a special occasion, something that's worthwhile keeping track of. And that's where Immich comes into the picture. It's a self-hosted photo and video library. So it basically syncs everything I have on my phone with it. I can also upload things from other sources. It doesn't just need to be the phone. But I use this to keep track of all of my memories with the car. For example, I've got this album here, and I've got the pictures from the moment I bought it. I remember this being a very exciting day. The trips we had in it as well. And even I can't even remember all the places we've been with it. But luckily for me, Immich does keep track of the metadata. So I can look and I can see where the picture was taken, which is helpful when you're trying to remember your past memories of something. Same with videos. Like this was its first detail, and I tried to film walk around with it just to kind of show its state at that point in time, and then kind of keep track of it with its good and the ugly. But just look at those pillarless doors; they're pretty nice, pretty nice. And other memories as well, like the moment it got its tints. I had to get it tinted, right? That had to happen. Photo shoots, all of them are kind of kept here. And I can at any time just go back through these and remember the good times and the bad times, like the moment it got towed, which was kind of unfortunate. That's the album, and that's a pretty basic functionality. But Immich does more than just albums. One other feature that came in really handy recently was the map functionality of it. We were in a trip in Portugal. It was our second time visiting the place. Portugal is very nice. And we wanted to visit a beach, the same beach that we visited when we were there last. And this time it was kind of weird. So basically, I think some sort of rockfall or something happened, and the entire beach was covered in rocks. And at the beginning, we weren't even sure we were at the right place. So it was really useful to have Immich, so I could just pull that up, and we could look back at our previous memories from the same place. And it kind of made the moment feel a bit more special. It allowed us to kind of reminisce of the previous time we were there, and kind of how we felt and all that. And that's not all that Immich does. We also have memories built into the photos view, like the main page of the app. So the moment you open it, you see the pictures that were taken years prior on the same day. And that's a nice functionality, especially since you do need to open the app for the backups to take place. This is something that's happening to me on my iPhone. I don't know if this is something that would happen to everyone, but I do need to open the app every so often just so I can allow it to take its backups and store everything from my phone on the server. And Immich has more functionality that we'll probably go over at a later point in a later video, where we'll do a more in-depth analysis on the app and how to install it and deal with it. But that's how I personally use it, and that's how it fits into my day-to-day app ecosystem. Next up, we've got Outline. This is my home knowledge base. It's basically a place where both myself and my fiance can write about random subjects. One such subject, for example, is the Apple TV remote. Every 6 months or so, it just stops adjusting the volume on my TV, and I never remember which two buttons need to be pressed in order to reset it. So last time this happened, I just took screenshots from the official documentation, uploaded them to my own KB, and now whenever this happens again, I can just come here, see what needs to be done, and then just reset it. We've also used this to plan our recent trip to Portugal. So we went into a town called Porto, very nice place, and this is where we took note of the hotel we were going to stay, all the things we could visit, with embeddings of Google Maps. So if we needed to quickly set the destination and use maps to navigate there, we could just open it from Outline. We also noted down some other interesting stuff from Portugal, like the winery, for example. Porto is known for its wineries, so you need to visit one if you go there. So we saw this nice one called Semigual, and I've used Outline to embed their webpage over here, as well as the map. So if we ever want to visit there again, all of it's here in this kind of handy knowledge base article. I also use this for other stuff as well. For example, I recently got my hands on a Japanese Wii U, which I had to change its language to English, as you can imagine. It's kind of an involved process, very difficult to find information about and kind of put it all together. And it's also like a multi-step process. So I tried to note down all the steps that I was making just in case I had to, something failed and I had to go back. I could just, go back and retry the failed step. Outline is nice since it allows me to upload the files as well. So if I ever need to do this again, probably never get my hands on another Japanese Wii U, but if I'll ever need to redo this step or this process, I have all the steps here with all the files that I need, so I can easily just redo it. These are more complex use cases, I'd say. Like there's a lot of information going, when you're planning a trip or when you're, modding a Wii U. But I've also used it for simpler things. For example, I got into Frostpunk 2 some time ago. Frostpunk 2, it's kind of a difficult game. It's the type of game where you take a decision now and sometime later in the game it backfires and then you just fail and need to start from the beginning. So as part of that, I realized that I really needed to save more, as well as keep track of all of my saves. So that's where Outline came in handy, and I was able to, leave snippets of information about each save that I had, just so I can, go back to a previous save and know where to go back to in case I needed to revert a decision that I previously took. Outline isn't all perfect though. Right, there are some weirdness around the web pages with the mobile phone. Right, like if you want to use it from a phone, it's hit or miss. It does have some issues. Most of these you can live with, like it's not the end of the world for sure, but just worth mentioning. It's been awesome from the browser. Like I use this on my workstation, on my laptop. It's been perfect over there. And all in all, it's been a great addition to my home services. Now, we've talked about Outline, which is a full-blown knowledge base. But sometimes I just have a random thought in my head that I want to note down. With Outline, that's difficult since I need to open it up, find a collection for it, find a page for it, and then I can note it down. These are frictions to the process that I just don't want to have or have to deal with. And that's where the next two apps come into the picture. We'll be talking about Memos and Blinko. Memos is the first that I tried. This was what I found as a place to note down my thoughts. So I can just open it up, write down something, and then save it, and I can review it later in the day or kind of whenever. And I use this to note about issues that were occurring, things that I needed to do. Let's say that, I stumbled across a nice application or a nice something that I wanted to check out. I just made a memo with it in Memos, and I could have it there to review it later on. It started off okay, but I found it limiting after a while. For example, the text editor would be my biggest issue with it. Let's say I write something down and I want to make it bold. I can't do that. I have no option to change it other than to write down the markdown syntax myself, which is not something necessarily friendly to do on the phone. It's not pleasant. It's not frictionless, which was what I was looking for in an app like this one. So then I found Blinko, which is a similar application. It basically does the same thing, only that it has a much more polished experience around inputting text. So for example, if I want to know something and then I want to make that bold, I can just do that directly from the editor. And this is a more basic example. It becomes a lot more powerful when you want to embed links into this. For example, I found an application, here we go, Archive Box, which I wanted to try out. So I just took a quick note of it. And as you can see here, it added the hyperlink to GitHub, where the application code is and where I can look at it. So that was nice to see. In addition to this, Blink also has the concept of notes. So these are just notes, as any other note. I don't have to explain these. But yeah, I just have notes here, and this is kind of an in-between. So let's say I take a quick thought as a Blinko. I then move it over to a note if I want to add some more stuff on it over the phone or something. And then when I want to go more in depth into it, it moves over to Outline, where I can document it properly as I work on it or deal with it or whatever. I also use this whenever I have like an appointment coming up. For example, I needed to go to my mechanic and check some issues with my car. So I quickly put together like a to-do list with all the things that needed to be checked. So when I actually went there and then handed off the car, I had all the things that I needed to talk with the mechanic about. So I don't forget about anything, since that has happened before. And that's kind of it about these two applications. They can do more, but similar to Immich, we'll go more in depth at a later point. They both have their own advantages and disadvantages. They have some issues here and there, but nothing to write home about, let's say. All the issues are livable with, and it's been a decent experience with both of them. And it's nice to also have both of them as an option. In the self-hosting space, there's not always that option around, right? Most applications aren't equally developed, so some of them would get more attention than others, so they become more superior and honestly your only choice. Like Immich, for example, right? We don't really have any other option for storing our photos, so in this situation, it's nice that we have both of them as options, and then we can see how they progress over time. Next up, we've got Element. This started off as me trying to self-host a private messaging service. I just wanted to see if it's possible and how well it works. And it is possible, and it worked fairly well. I shared this with my fiance, and at the beginning we just were using it to share media with each other, and it then just developed into being our messaging service. So now if I want to write something to her or she wants to write something to me, we just use Element, just because there's honestly nothing wrong with it. Right, the chat works just fine. So for example, if I want to start a message, right, this, like the beginning part of this is a bit weird, I'd say, or a bit strange. But you do need to write like the full username with the server and whatever. But if I start the message with the subjective user, I can then get a notification on my other phone where let me just start recording on this one as well. I can see I was invited to a chat, and if I open that up, I can join this chat, and then I can talk with the other person. I guess that's kind of that. Right? It's just like a messaging service, right? There's nothing more to say about this. I would say that it's kind of nice. It's been nice to know that we have, like, whatever happens, we have this private and encrypted way of sending messages to each other, right? Communicating with each other. And I think this is slightly relevant with the recent discussions about end-to-end encryption and what you wants to do with it and whatever. I'm not necessarily concerned about it, and it's not necessarily something you need, but because I have it, why not? It's a nice thing to have, let's say. Next is Nextcloud. I don't really use this that much on my phone. I just have the application because it has an application, so why not? The primary purpose of Nextcloud in my setup or for me is to back up all the files from my workstation and keep them in sync with my laptop. Right, I got a bit older, my back occasionally hurts, so it's been pretty nice to just pick up my laptop, move to the couch, open it up, and continue from where I left off. So that's what Nextcloud is doing for me. It hasn't been that great of an experience, especially compared with all the other applications. It is clunkier. It's much more difficult to set up and maintain than others are. I will be trying to find an alternative to it, but for now there's just nothing out there that can provide the same level of functionality as Nextcloud, which is being able to see all your files in a web browser and just sync your files across devices. Next is Bitwarden. I use this to store all of my passwords, as well as one-time passcodes and passkeys, and kind of anything authentication related goes into Bitwarden. I've been using this similarly to Nextcloud, primarily on my workstation and on my laptop. It is where I keep all my secrets, but because it doesn't integrate really well with the Apple devices and the Apple ecosystem, I do also use Apple passwords, and I kind of need to move passwords from one to another, which is not ideal, but it is what it is. And I think this is more of a limitation from Apple than it is an issue with the application itself. But anything on Apple, right? Like if you use a Windows device or a Linux machine, then this definitely is an app that's worth installing and using, as it makes the process of managing your passwords just much more easier. Then I've got WebUI. This is my at-home chat GPT. I use this with a self-hosted Olama service, and I use it whenever I need to, find some quick information or just like quickly get to something. It's nice because you can also attach files and kind of discuss about like PDFs and whatever, as well as allow it to search the web, and it can pull information from the web about whatever it is that you're searching for. There's kind of more to say about like self-hosted AI in general. So I'm gonna leave all those for a future video. But for now, just know that WebUI exists. It works great on your phone. And it's definitely something that can be used as a replacement for OpenAI. I then use LubeLogger as an application to store and kind of record all the things happening with the car, and the same CLS I was talking about earlier. So this is where I can keep track of my expenses. So quite a lot of expenses so far. But at least once a month, I need to actually fill up, and that's when I open the app, and I just add my gas record, and then that's like the most common use case that I have with the app, or the most reoccurring use case with the application. And it's nice to kind of track all of these, just because you can get an understanding of how much the car is actually costing you. Same with the service records, all of the things that I've done to the car. And whenever there was like a mechanic, right, any sort of service involved, I just noted it down here so I can reference it at a later time. And this allows you to have multiple cars. So if you do have multiple cars, you can have multiple cars stored in here. I don't, just have the one. And I don't think there's anything else to say about it, right? If you want to keep track of your expenses around the car, this is definitely the app to do that with. Last but not least is Teable. This is kind of a spreadsheet on steroids, or if you've ever heard of Airtable, it's kind of an open source variant of that. I'm actually going to pull up my iPad for this, just because it's going to be easier to show this on the iPad screen. And this is where I use it the most as well, just because you need to do a bunch of like text inputs and things like that, like spreadsheeting and management and whatever. So that's always easier to do on a bigger screen. So I started using this just to keep track of purchases, right? I wanted to keep track of all that I'm spending in regards to anything compute related. So workstations, I guess PCs that use the servers, RAM, hard drives, SSDs, whatever, right? So I just created this table. I have all the components that I've bought, where I bought them from, and how much they cost, any notes on them, receipts if I had them, and anything like that. This allowed me to kind of build a dashboard around it, just so I can quickly know how much I'm spending on anything compute related. So I can see the total spend so far is like insane, but it's been since 2022, so I guess it's kind of fine. And the total spend this year it's been a bit as well, but I've been running some upgrades. I've been trying some stuff out. So yeah, that's that. This is only part of the use case for Teable. You can also use it to kind of manage things that you have to do. So for example, if I open my CLS 500 base, where I keep track of my car and everything related to the car, this is where I have issues. For example, the mechanical issues. And this is where I just, let's say I notice something happening with the car, like I drive it. When I get a chance, I quickly note it down in Blinko. When I get home, I create kind of an issue for it within Teable. So for example, I have this steering wheel that's slightly to the left now. So I put a picture of it here, how I can possibly resolve it, as well as the appointment when I'm going to resolve it. I'll show you those in a minute. I also have more complex things, right, like the rattling front windows, where I've been trying to resolve them for a very long time at this point. And it's always been difficult with mechanics to get them to look at it. So I just also have a more in-depth, in-depth note, I guess, or order of events, as I noted it down here, in outline, and I just link that in here in Teable so I can quickly find it. Same thing for my cosmetic issues. So these are, scratches that I've got on the car, things that I would like to get sorted eventually. Right, I just made a note of all of them here. So when I will have time and budget to actually deal with them, I can actually deal with them. I don't have to remember what was, happening there and whatnot, as well as an improvement space. And these are things that I would like to do to make the car feel better, like some wheel spacers in the back, just to take those wheels out a bit and lowering it a bit. I feel it's a bit high for my liking. So those would be two things that I like to do with the car. The nice thing with Teable is that besides this grid view that I'm showing you right now, you can also have a Kanban board. So this is the Kanban board for my mechanical issues, and you can see you have like your to-do lane, your in progress. I have this abandoned thing just because some issues with the car might not be worth fixing right now, just because they're in a place where when other things will inevitably fail, it's going to make more sense at that point. But that's the point of the abandoned one, and as well as the done lane, in case I'm done with something, I just kind of move it there and not have to worry about it. It's also good for appointments. So for example, this is my shop appointments, and this I can see all the appointments that I've made with a particular shop, and I can see them in this calendar view. And I also have other things linked to this. So for example, on my upcoming appointment, I have this steering wheel leaning to the left and the intermittent aromatic issues that I want to check out. So I just link them here so I know about those. But yeah, it's been pretty great. I only found this option to kind of organize issues and deal with those with this Kanban view and all that pretty recently. I was very happy to find it, if I'm being honest, just because I feel this is going to be a pretty big game changer in terms of how I organize the things that I need to do, and this is going to help me remember about stuff that I need to do and not just forget about them. And that's about it for Teable, I guess. It's a very powerful app. It can do a lot. This is what I have been doing with it, but I know it has more functionality than that. Yeah, that's that. So I forgot to talk about remote access. For all these applications to make sense, you need to be able to use them everywhere. For that, I've got a dedicated network equipment. I've got an Ubiquiti Cloud Gateway, which is running a VPN server, a WireGuard VPN server. And my phone is configured that whenever I disconnect from my home Wi-Fi network, it automatically connects to the VPN. So I can then access my applications from wherever. And the VPN is configured to only route traffic to the applications. It's not like a full-on VPN that gives access to my entire network. So that's how I'm handling that. And that's about it. Those are the apps that I use on a day-to-day basis. I've been using these for about a year and a half, depending on the app. Right? Some are newer, some are older. But they've definitely found their place in my life. I have them and I use them to address some normal challenges that I've got. And I keep finding applications that help me address challenges that I didn't even knew I had before. So they definitely improve my life, right? The way I deal with things and the way I handle things. Now, we need to address one relatively big elephant in the room, which is self-hosting. I know that self-hosting is it's kind of a difficult thing and has always been difficult due to its, let's say, higher barrier of entry. Right, to run these applications, you need to know a bunch of stuff about, let's say, virtual machines and hypervisors and databases and caching, and then the application itself and Docker and whatever. Right, it's a lot. It's a lot to take in, and it's a lot to do. Right, especially if you're just kind of getting started with this, you can not kind of build yourself your own thing overnight. Right, you need to spend a lot of time to get to the level where we can maintain this. I also feel a lot of off-the-shelf solutions are purposely obtuse and difficult and focus in the wrong areas, right? Especially for like our modern days, right? The technological stack that we've got right now is very different than what it was before, and a lot of the, let's say, community favorites aren't necessarily what they were before, and haven't really been able to keep up. And that's something that I'd like to help with. That's something that I'm going to do as part of this channel. I'm going to try to kind of show you how you could run these, and how you can get yourself set up with all these applications yourself. Others as well, right? This is going to be a constantly evolving story, I guess, with new applications added and changes occurring over time. But I do want more people to be able to have this and kind of remove some of the stigma around self-hosting. So that's about it. If you like this, feel free to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.